Okay, guys, I'm going to go over with you my expectations, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a lesson with you, and then you're going to have a Google form to complete that shows me that you understood what the lesson was about today. What you should be doing for summer school. The expectation is that you read the assigned chapters every week. This week, you're reading chapters 1 through 6. It's not a lot. Just get it read, and you'll do fine. Check in on your classroom each day for the day's assignments. They'll be posted by 9 a.m. So if you come in at 9:10, you'll be just fine, or anytime after it. But I want you to complete your assignments by 9 p.m. That gives you 12 hours to get your assignments done. If you have questions, don't let it sit. Don't just go, well, I don't know what to do. Communicate those questions or any concerns you have or something you might be having a problem with. You go through Google Classroom or you email me. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me. Every single day, I'll be available from 10 to 2. What that means is I'll have my computer up. I'll be working on other stuff. You can text me. My classroom phone number is at the top of the classroom, so you'll be able to call my phone and get a hold of me, whatever you need to do in order to get your questions answered. But don't let it sit and don't avoid doing the work because you weren't sure what to do. Just reach out. Okay, so let's dive into the actual lesson today. We are doing constitutional stuff. The story Fever 1793 takes place obviously in 1793. That's right in the middle of the early republic and the beginning of all the things that are the country that we have today. But it's important that you understand the Constitution. So we're going to back up a little bit in time and we're going to discuss constitutional stuff while we're reading about it, because the people that we're reading about and encountering in this book were a big part of the Constitution. You're going to hit George Washington in his second term of presidency. There will be a mention of Alexander Hamilton, of Thomas Jefferson. So these people are important. And I figure the best way for us to approach the social studies part of your summer school is to work on the Constitution, especially since that's a little bit of a difficult concept anyway. All right, let's start with why we have a Constitution. We have a Constitution because our first form of government wasn't great. It was called the Articles of Confederation. That's what we needed, something to start this country that we fought so hard in the Revolutionary War to get. The problem with the Articles of Confederation were many. The reason we formed it the way we did is because we were desperately trying to avoid a tyrannical central government like we had under a king. Nobody wanted that again. So we actually ended up going too far the other direction and making it very weak. The Articles had only one branch of government. It was the legislative branch, and it had the power to declare war, to make treaties, and to borrow money. That's the only power it had. What the Articles of Confederation ended up being was more like a treaty between all these different states who could make their own money, create their own laws, and do things almost as if they were an independent country, which ultimately makes the country weaker. So let's talk about those weaknesses. Number one, the government could not regulate trade, which means they couldn't enter into any deals with any foreign governments, but South Carolina could enter into their own deal with France. And that would mean that maybe South Carolina is competing with Georgia and France is trying to deal with two different states instead of a nation. So it doesn't work very well. You have to have at least 9 of the 13 states approve any changes to government. It took years to get everything done in those days, just for the distance. Imagine if we had to have 9 out of 13 say, yes, we can do this. It was everything from a simple law to a big change. You constantly needed that approval. There was no executive branch to enforce the law. There's no presidency. There's no military. There's nothing that says these laws are going to be upheld and we're going to protect them. The government had no power to pass taxes. While they could borrow all the money they wanted, they couldn't charge the people or tax the people in order to pay that money back, which means we really couldn't get any money. The states also had way more power than the national government. At first, this is what everybody wanted because they had just been under a king who had all the power, and they didn't want that anymore. The problem with making the states have more power than the national government is that there's not one overall thing that's in charge and too many cooks in the kitchen. Just too many people making decisions that affect everybody. So they're going to get rid of the Articles of Confederation, and they're going to spend months creating a new document called the Constitution of the United States. I'm going to talk to you about each piece as we go through summer school, and we're going to start with the preamble. The preamble is the introduction to the Constitution. It announces what the purpose is. It's almost like an opening paragraph, but it also is a statement that, hey, this is what we are going to do. It's very short. You can see in the picture. This is all it is. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, to form a more united country. See? Establish justice. Give justice to all. Ensure domestic tranquility. Keep the peace. Provide for the common defense. Keep our country safe. Promote the general welfare. Help the people. And ensure the blessings of liberty, to protect our liberty, to protect our freedom. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So we're going to do all of these things in the Constitution. And that is the end of that. So, what I want you to take from this, when you answer your questions, you're going to have a question on what your expectations are, and then you're going to have questions about the Articles of Confederation and the preamble. Feel free to go back to the video and look through it to answer the questions. That would be the smart play. And I will have another video up on Wednesday for you guys to use. And we will be talking a little bit more about the Constitution and the compromises that were used in order to create it.